Hello, my friends. Deb Colitas here. Welcome back to the Just Get to Work podcast. This is where we get excited and nerd out on everything AI search, how it's impacting you, your business, your role within a corporation, and what you need to be paying attention to. We clear through the noise, we clear through the distractions, and we just get to work. Today's episode is all about content that AI can actually use because there's a ton out there. So picture something. I've been in this situation. Maybe you have as well. You spend 3 weeks on a blog post, a piece of content, whatever it is, 2,000 words, beautifully, written, an intro. You've got a personal story, a little joke in the middle, big, satisfying conclusion at the end. You're proud of it and you hit publish. And then an AI tool reads maybe the first 2 paragraphs of it, never makes it to your actual answer, and quotes your competitor instead, because your competitor put the answer in the sentence first. And I actually went and tested this as, when I started everything with AI search almost 2 years ago now to really dive into it. I began writing a couple articles, and I've been focusing on the podcast, so, don't go searching for all of them all over the place. But there's a couple on my website. I posted them on LinkedIn. And then I started, are they pulling up in AI search? So I started asking questions that should have pulled those answers. And meanwhile, 2-sentence answers, buried in an FAQ page on my website were getting quoted almost word for word. And that's where I really realized, okay, I've got to do this differently and figure it out. And that's what I'm doing now for you, for me, for clients, all over the place. So as we continue to demystify LLMs, we want to, still focus on those trust signals, because it's not just enough to be trustworthy. AI has to actually be able to use what you've written. So today we're going to break down what that really means, why it works this way, exactly what to build, and how long before you actually see it pay off. Remember now, we have 2 audiences. We have the humans who scroll. That whole structure was built for one thing. Well, that Google sticker chart isn't as important anymore because AI doesn't scroll. It doesn't care about your time on page. It's not trying to keep anybody anywhere. It's trying to extract an answer fast and hand it to someone who asked a question. And guess what? We want it fast. If your answer is buried under 4 paragraphs of story before you get to the point, the AI just simply moves on. It finds the page that gives the answer in sentence 1. This isn't about being a worse writer. It's about writing for a completely different reader. And that reader is a machine trying to solve a problem in a half a second. So what does AI actually want from your content? So here's some key moments. You got to put your answer first. Whatever question your content is trying to answer, put the actual answer in the first sentence or 2. Then you can explain. Then you can add nuance, tell your story, but lead with the answer, not the runway. Next up, clear structure. I always start now with a bulleted list when I start my writing, and then I organize that list to what is most important of the message that I want to get out there. Headers that actually say what the section is about. Not clever, not cute, clear. Make the header, how much does your calculator cost? That will get an answer a lot faster than let's talk numbers. It's just 2 different approaches. Direct answers to direct questions. If people ask, does your calculator work with a USB cord? Have a sentence somewhere that literally says, yes, our calculator works with a USB cord. No, it doesn't. AI loves a clean yes or no and can lift it and use it. Next up, specificity, love that word, over fluff. Real numbers, real specs, real examples. Vague marketing language such as industry leading and best in class, AI mostly ignores it. It might make a human feel good, but it's not going to get you mentioned. So that's not what you should be leading with on your website. It's not information, it's noise, the same thing as we've talked about before. Here's a big one, because as humans, we like to clump a lot of information together. AI is looking for one topic, fully answered. A page trying to do 10 things does none of them well at all for AI. A page that answers one question completely with real depth is exactly the kind of thing that gets pulled and cited. So let's understand what the LLM is doing and why it actually works this way. Here's the plain version. When an AI tool answers a question, it's not reading your whole website like a person would, front to back, soaking in the vibe. It's breaking pages into small chunks, a paragraph, sometimes even just a sentence, and pulling out whatever chunk most directly answers the question it was asked. Then it stitches a handful of those chunks together in an answer. That's the whole reason answer first works. If your answer is sitting alone in its own clean paragraph, that paragraph is perfect. Self-contained chunk, the model that can grab and use. If your answer is smeared across 4 paragraphs of a story and context, there's no clean chunk to grab. The model has to do extra work to extract it, and half the time it doesn't bother. It moves to the next source that it made it easy. This also explains why clear headers matter so much. Headers are basically road signs, telling the model what inside that chunk is before it even reads it. A vague header like, I said, let's talk numbers, tells the model nothing. A header like, how much does the calculator cost, tells it exactly what question that chunk answers, which makes it far more likely to get pulled when somebody is asking about pricing. And this is why specificity beats fluff. Vague marketing language doesn't answer a question. It just sounds nice. Industry-leading service isn't an answer to anything. We respond to service calls within 2 hours, 7 days a week, is a direct, checkable answer to a real question somebody might ask. The model can use the second one. It has nothing to do with the first. So when you hear me say, write for extraction, not scrolling, that's what I mean. You're writing a series of clean, self-contained, clearly labeled answers that happen to live on the same page. I have a secret weapon I'm going to share with you right now. And this is something that my clients have, invested a lot in to get it right. And there's many different nuances within it, but here's the big thing. The FAQ page is your secret weapon. If your business, if your company does not have an FAQ page or FAQs within the actual site, you are missing a huge opportunity. It may be the single most underrated piece of content for your entire website. And here's why. A well-built FAQ page is already doing what AI wants. It's a direct question. It's a direct answer. No fluff, no scrolling, no 3-paragraph wind-up. It's basically pre-formatted for exactly how these tools want to consume information. Most businesses treat their FAQ page like an afterthought. 5 questions thrown together, buried in the footer. I want you to treat it like one of your top most 3 important pages. Go pull the actual questions people ask you in emails, in DMs, at the counter, on sales calls. Not the questions you wish they asked, the real ones, and answer each one directly in a sentence or 2 before you go into any more detail if you want to. I did this on my own farm business site, took real customer questions. Half of them I pulled straight out of old text message threads, reviews, things like that, and built out a real FAQ section instead of the 3 generic questions we had sitting there before. That page now shows up in more AI-pulled answers than any blog post we've ever written, by a mile. So beyond the FAQ, what do you actually need to be doing for your business or the business you're responsible for? Let's build this out step by step, the same way we did with trust signals. For each one, I'm going to give you the action and the why, because the why is what makes you actually stick with it. Number 1, run the 2-sentence test on your page. Pull up your 5 most important pages, the ones that should be winning you business. Read the first 2 sentences of each like you're a machine trying to extract an answer. If the actual point doesn't show up by then, mark that page for rework. We just talked about chunking. If your answer isn't a clean, early chunk, the model skips over your page, for one that will make it easier. This test takes 20 minutes and tells you exactly which pages are invisible to AI right now. Number 2, rebuild or create that FAQ page from real questions. As I said, you're going to go back to emails, text, DM, sales calls, Facebook, reviews, not guesses. Write each answer as a direct sentence first, detail after. Aim for real coverage, pricing, process, timelines, what's included, what's not. All of this is extremely important because this may be the highest leverage page on your site because it's already shaped the way AI wants to consume information. This is important. Now, number 3, you're going to rewrite vague headers into real questions. Remember how I said that marketing language isn't cutting it for what AI is looking for an answer? Go through your site and turn every clever or vague header into something that plainly states what the section answers. Let's talk numbers becomes how much does that calculator cost? Why choose us becomes what makes us different from other calculator companies. Switch it up, and then underneath is where you're able to direct answer and then go into the more salesy language, human approach, so that you have both of it on your site. Headers are the road signs we talked about. A model deciding whether to dig into a chunk of your page is often making that call based on the header alone. Clear headers get chosen. Clever ones, unfortunately, get skipped by AI search. Here's number 4, replace every fluff phrase with a real fact. Search your site for things like industry leading and best in class and world class and innovative. Every time you find one, replace it with actual number, spec, time frame, or example, because fluff isn't information the model can verify or use. A specific fact such as 14-day turnaround, serving 3 countries, 20 years in business, those are checkable and usable. This is often the single fastest edit you can make, and it usually only takes an afternoon across a whole website. Number 5, go deep on your one most important topic. The Just Get to Work podcast is just that. We're going deep on one topic, AI search. This is my full deep dive into how can I get shown in the AI search as well. So instead of spreading efforts across 10 thin blog posts, pick the single topic that matters most to your business, the thing people most need to understand before they buy, and build the most complete specific answer to it that exists anywhere in your industry. Depth wins citations. A thin post competing against 9 other thin posts rarely get pulled. One genuinely thoughtful, thorough, specific page on a topic that matters becomes the obvious source the model reaches for because it fully answers the question instead of half answering it. And number 6, re-audit your content every quarter. I mentioned this back in Trust Signals, and you've got to keep on top of it. No different than, keeping on top of your books and your accounting. This is what is important. Your business changes, your pricing changes, your service changes, and AI is weighing freshness. Just like we've talked about before, content that was perfectly structured a year ago can quietly go stale if nobody's maintaining it. Now it's results time. You've begun going through things, you've got that FAQ page up, you're proud of your headers because they answer and give actual information before going into the different language. What is it going to take? So here's the same honest question I've had before. Headers and answer first rewrites, I would say 2 to 6 weeks. These are structural changes on a page that already exist. So once AI crawlers and search tools re-index your site, which usually happens within a few weeks, you can start seeing those specific pages show up differently in AI answers. Now let's move on to that FAQ page. I would say 4 to 8 weeks to start appearing in answers. Because it's new, focused content answering real direct questions, it tends to get picked up faster than the full site overhaul. This is usually the fastest visible win in this whole episode. Fluff to fact replacements. These are more nuances you're doing within the site. So this is more of a 4 to 10 week cycle when you've done it properly. Small edits, but they need to be recrawled and then need to accumulate as a pattern of specific information across your site before the model starts trusting your content as reliable, a factual source over a vaguer competitor. And this is where it helps if other people are writing about this same content about your business. Deep authoritative page on your core topic. All right, so your focus point communications and you're like, yes, I'm gonna redo a page all about AI search and authority. This is a 2 to 4 month process to fully establish itself. Depth takes longer to pay off because the model needs to encounter it, evaluate it against competing pages, and settle into treating it as the go-to source. Plus, again, if someone's mentioned it on Reddit and you have it on LinkedIn and it appears in a review, that's only going to help you. Once all of this happens, though, that kind of page tends to hold its position for a long time because it's genuinely hard for a competitor to answer it quickly. But you need to keep producing content. Your whole site functioning as an AI usable resource. Say, Deb, that's it. I took it to the ground. I rebuilt it. Well, you're going to get obviously the Google crawlers and search engine crawlers, but there's that 4 to 6 months of consistent work. That's the point where you stop making one-off fixes and the whole site behaves the way we've described today by default. We took apart our farm page and totally revamped it prior to strawberry season. We are now seeing the fruit of our labor and how we're coming about in just different conversations and AI search that we never even thought were imaginable. So put in the work, wait patiently, push forward with content, and with every new page you publish, will naturally follow that pattern. If you are, waiting 6 months to see something, don't be quiet. Keep going with things. Keep putting things out there. While people may notice that their FAQ page or one rewritten page start surfacing in AI answers within that first month or so, that's early proof that what you're doing is working. Let that be your motivation to finish the rest of the site instead of losing steam halfway through. As I always bring truth to you, not fluff, just like what the AI search is looking for. The content that wins AI search isn't the most creative content or maybe even most beautifully written content. It's the most usable content. Clear answers, real specifics, structured so a machine can grab it and hand it to somebody who needs help where they're creating the summary. This is actually good news because it means you don't need a huge budget or a fancy agency to compete here with your small business. You need to be clear, honest, and specific, which if you've been listening to the show for a while, you already know is exactly how I think you should be running your whole business anyways. You have a website that is over 25 to 50 pages. You have a different beast in your hand. That is a different workflow and process that we need to dive in and discover based upon how your customers are currently using the information you put out there and also how they're asking questions and interacting with an AI. What we're doing now is we're diving into customer research-based studies of how are your customers asking a question, the different segments of your customer base, the experts versus the casual encounters. How are they asking questions and what are they needing to know? And then how do you need to restructure your content as a whole? This also then gets into more complicated things. Like, do you have a bunch of PDFs on your website that aren't readable by AI? Is your storefront blocking AI crawlers from really knowing what the descriptions are of your items? There's a lot more complexity the bigger your site is, which I did not get into today. But this should be a starting point for you to have a really, really good time. So if you want help figuring out which of your pages are actually AI ready and which ones need work, that's a conversation worth having. So head on over to justgettowork.com, look for a way to, strategy session with me on my contact form, because watching is step one, implementation is where things shift. If you're stuck, overwhelmed, or spinning, let's get you unstuck. So as I say, the hustle is real. Let's just get to work.